I have about 5 poems here today to share. All of these poems, they were written very recently. All of these poems, they concern black relentlessness, black confidence, black pride in a way. And in that vein, they are all interconnected. Um, I try to do that in a number of my poems. I explore one thing in various different ways and see where that lands me. So this first poem is about Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, Hall of Fame basketball player. Very interesting character to me. One of my favorite basketball players. And one of the things I find interesting about Allen Iverson is that he was uh, he was very unapologetically black in a time where being black in the NBA was it's kind of a bad thing. They were trying to rebrand themselves in the 90s and early 2000s, and he kind of defied what they wanted. So this poem is called "Conceit of an Allen Iverson Press Conference." In poetry, a conceit is an extended metaphor and connecting two unlike things. And here, the conceit is the plight of blackness and Allen Iverson's press conference. So Allen says, "Not everyone who has seen the bar of a cell knows of its coldness. Nothing clings to bleak metal like a mother. The room falls a false silent. We talking about attention, not attention. We not talking about a man's lit filament of nerves as he sits as the high beacon of do-ragged, wiretapped wonders, but maybe we should be. If a baller named Allen writes psalms, shouldn't a choir sing as well? If the same man runs his fingers down a boundary, refers you to the half slit across the room, a live body to tremor with the silver frenetic of hopelessness, will you, like him, shrug your shoulders and wordlessly confess this is what an imprisoned thing does, make prisons out of midair?" Thank you. The next poem is about Mr. T, kind of in his voice, actually. And Mr. T is somebody who I admit is very interesting to me. I find him interesting because of the singularity of his character. So he's the same person in person as he is in movies. And I find that to be very inspirational, very odd, and not usual, actually. And that's also what I find interesting about Allen Iverson, I think. So recently I was watching an interview when the interview with Mr. T, where the interviewer asks, "Do you pity the fool who does not buy a gold chain?" And this poem is imagining his response to that. It's called Mr. T on. It's called Mr. T on Gold Chains. Really, I pity the fool that live like me. Really, I wrap my hands into any shape other than a fist and no one sees the difference, till I swing them above my head like a maniac proclaiming I ain't no man of mercy. If they ain't scared of me, they discard of me. Kiss my hand and spit on the knuckle, hand me a love letter and run for cover. I am a stranger in everyone's mind until a beast in me rages out like a beady eye jack out its tin box, wondering first who put him in there, and second who wrenched the lever, then dared to gasp when he popped out. I'm a bad man, but I ain't no dummy. Ain't no product of amusement or adjective for gimmick. Every night I cut my hands to the sky as a prayer for some God to cleanse me of my shame but leave the sin. The smart man knows how to reconsider himself a sacrifice to something greater. A chain, the color of gold-limbed sun, streaked around my neck, anchoring me down as if to roar. I'm underdressed without a humble tally of small victories around my neck. I guess you could imagine it like having too few fingers to count on, or too few lovers to truly count on. I've only been loved even for a sliver in a dream by a family of songbirds, picking moons of light and sugar out the sky, draping them around my shoulders until I am so bright that folks from far and wide know of me, but get struck blind up close. I imagine true love as the business of God-making, as an art of finding new ways to silently say I love you. And ain't nothing more godly than tenderly loving the lowborn, struggling to find reasons to love itself, struggling to find any reason to love itself that's not a metaphor for its own lovelessness. For once, I have chosen to testify. Praise be to the shimmery riot neckling my chest, to the diamonds and carats and kaleidoscope of heaven envoy with me until the smoke blows, until I die vested in so many chains that it takes a nation of millions to hold me up. This next poem is called Generational Ode, and it's just that. It's an ode to the generations that have come before me and all that they have done to better their history and better their future rather in my present. Um, Class or no class, I can write my name down and call it eloquent. When interrogated, I can parse it apart like a word of many meanings that collapse wildly into any mouth fluent in time. Of course, I can even camouflage in it like it is a misery without origin. Pardon the gall threaded between the lyric. I have learned this name I did not choose, learned it well. Say it in the south, and the quails disperse by reflex, their elm limbs sling down under dominant dark like bones bound to break the skin of a foreign body. Through this world, there are such nerved histories that outlast their auditor. I say I am here, a sum of bad blood in back country and back home, and no one has yet taken to marvel. They say the revolution of mankind is that it's no longer impressive to survive, and I open my warmly willed eyes for one more story. Today, a business of black blister called me through the funnel of a wretched mouth. I sang Amazing Grace all the way through, not in fear, but in the happy regret that there are prisons in me I have yet to discover, all distilled in their belt of darkness as if waiting to interrogate what will not answer back. Thank you. I mean, America, you are forced to make room in a country that will not make room for you. So, this poem is called Displace, and Harriet Tubman. It imagines Harriet Tubman's response to the presidential election of 2008. Black president. I ain't heard none like that crack in all this life and land. But don't all echoes tell a story? Don't everything ring between freedom and the white man's flagellum as these full moons dance in my age wrinkles of foxglove ash? I know. I am always a slave to a devil sour as my mama's breast milk potion poured for 9 chillin' born slave babies burned bronze in the midnight fields of lavender. We used to play together. And that was when this land wasn't mine. That was when I told them chillin' to flee they selves, cause I seen it with my own eyes. Baby girls and boys snatched from under they father's palm because they ain't nothing to naysayers with no power. But child, the Lord has summoned a dark dawn, so let it soothe the swayed back souls. Cut the sheep's tail straight off and let the Negro body holler. In all my years, I ain't been but a split off tumbleweed, knowing good and well these peckerwood talking at my broomsticks. But you can't laugh no more. You see, I'm a time traveler. The bridge between the Lord's gift and the cock's crow, so you can hush up with all that extra, cause these 4 corners here, you can call it America, and I'll call it mine now. And you can trust I ain't never been no doer of magic, but I ain't never been afraid of no gavel in the hands of limp spirits that tremble in the echo of my daddy's namesake. My mama always used to tell me that yesterday is the mother of tomorrow. But it don't give you no good luck charms. You get off your hind parts and walk. Walk that way. Walk to the new days, burn your bridges with a toothy grin running all over hell's half-acre until your toes tell stories the color of bedrock and the rind of freedom's patch. Don't never let your feet dwell where your people go to die. 'Cause peg leg Uncle Sam gon' ask you where you been. You look him dead in his onyx iris and say, I've been to hell and about everywhere else. I've been to Canefield and Oval Office, and I'ma reckon sometimes there ain't much difference. Lord knows a black president only means the world's hardest working slave. But I hope that Mr. President know that rest don't come to Hallelujah streets, till the front stoops of heaven break under the weight of souls, like a stubborn bud of cotton hissing under a sharp nail tooth, like the promised land I sunk my mind into when I was born on this ragged earth in a home of no moonshine and no shot duty to myself to get rid of this shape-shifting burden born on my back. And I learned this all at too young an age to ever forget a thing. So the only thing I can tell you now, that this whole land is mine, is that my feet are too tired to run from anything ever again. Thank y'all for having me so much. Great audience, thank you. Mic that. If you